so much. I gave my heart and life to Jesus at the age of 7. Amen. I became a Republican when I was old enough to understand what the word meant. And I'm proud that I'm a Republican today as much as any time in my life. But I can tell you that in the last 50 years, Jesus has never left me, but on occasion the Republican Party has. So I'm even more proud to say that I am a conservative Republican. I'm more proud and thankful than anything to tell you that I am an American. And this is what America is all about right here today. I believe that next November, we can change the D that's next to the Arkansas U.S. Senate seat to an R. But we must not forget that this race is not about changing letters. It is not about changing parties. It is about changing the course of our country. Not about advancing somebody's political career, nor securing some future political office for a candidate. This race is about securing a future of freedom for our children and our grandchildren and millions of yet-to-be-born Americans. You might hear one of the candidates say that this race is not just about having our say. And I can tell you I could not disagree more. This race is entirely about having our say. This race is about having elected representatives who listen to what we have to say.
There you go.
This race is about having senators who say what we tell them to say for the floor of the United States. This race has everything to do with what we have to say. So I say to you, dear friends, that this is the time not for self-service, but for self-sacrifice. Right. This is the time not for self-promotion, but for servant leadership. This is the time for leaders who recognize and understand that they are the employees of the people who elect them.
Hey. That's a
who realize that the office belongs to the people who elect them, not to them. And who realize that they have no greater responsibility than to faithfully represent the views and the wishes of the people who entrusted the office to them. This race is not about silk ties and starched shirts and Washington royalty rides in stretch limos in D.C. This is about putting on combat fatigues and going in the halls of Congress and fighting for American liberty and fighting for American freedom.
There you go.
That the race for this Senate, this is about understanding that the race for this U.S. Senate seat, that the battle for this U.S. Senate seat will not be nearly as tough as the battle that we'll have when we win this U.S. Senate seat. It's about understanding that stopping the bureaucratic takeover of our personal health care decisions and defeating and stopping a horrible bill that will destroy thousands of American jobs and thousands of American businesses by creating the single largest tax increase in the history of the country. It's called cap and trade. It is about understanding that defeating and stopping those bills and those movements is only the beginning of the fight. It is about understanding that we must have a senator who understands that Washington's out-of-control spending is more than just about some balance, check and balance political process. We've got to have a senator who gets it, who understands that the national debt, now increasing at more than, or at almost $5 billion a day, that the national debt is a clear and present danger, an imminent and immediate risk to our national security, and who understands that we must fight that debt and deficit as the most dangerous enemy we have ever faced in the history of our country. We've got to have a senator who understands that the cost of government has gotten too big because government has gotten too big.
Yeah.
And that we must reduce the cost of government by reducing the size of government. We need a government who lives not within its means. We need a government who lives within our means. We are suffering the most egregious erosion of personal liberties ever in the history of our country. But folks, we've not lost these liberties just since this current administration, which is an anti-capitalism, anti-free market, anti-business administration. We've lost these liberties over the last decade. Insidiously, subtly, maybe carelessly and recklessly, but one election and one bill and one vote at a time. So now today, my children and your grandchildren and my grandchildren don't have the ghost of a chance of growing up with the same liberties that we had when we were children. On the floor of the U.S. Senate, who understands that the time for compromise on the fundamentals of freedom has passed.
Yeah.
We must be prepared to fight, to recover the freedoms that have faded from our families. And we must be prepared to fight to restore the liberties that have been lost from our lands. Dwight Eisenhower said, freedom does not long entrusted, or history does not long entrust freedom to the weak or the timid. And I give you my solemn promise, I will not be weak and I will not be timid. And I ask you, Arkansas, to stand up with me and say, we will not leave anything on the table. And we will not forget any resource. We will leverage every relationship. And if not for ourselves, for our children, we will fight to take our country back.